Good evening, my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome back to another episode of the Takedown Troupe, your TNA Wrestling weekly post show here at BC WrestlePod. My name is Mikey El Jefe of BC WrestlePod, and I am here soloing, leveling it tonight. Unfortunately, my other co host, Radio Free Will, was busy with other obligations, but I will be here tonight to break down the Thursday May 28th edition of TNA Wrestling. So before I get into all of that, really quickly, you can catch us going live all throughout the week on various days, and you can pick your favorite streaming site, whether that be YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Kick, or Facebook Live, where we go. So this is streaming everywhere. You could just pick your favorite, pick your poison, like in wrestling, and hope it's a good one. But we also have social media that you can follow as well. We are at BC WrestlePod across most social media sites, where you can see clips from our shows, report cards of the weekly TVs and the pay-per-views, as well as some other fun goodies over there that you can only find on the socials. We also have some merch available at our shop, bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. And last but certainly not least, we have a coffee bot, however you want to pronounce it. And it helps us pay for all these pay-per-views, especially this summer, because this is going to be a jam-packed one, and we are going to need all the help we can get. So with that out of the way, I am here to break down this week's TNA Wrestling. This is a bit of a shorter show, not much to discuss. We had pretty much a good chunk of our opening and main event take the um, time slots, but we got some other stuff to talk about as we are gearing up for Slammiversary come the end of the month in June. So let's get things started. So here we go. We kick things off with this week's TNA with our men's champions challenge. So this is the team of all of our men's champion in TNA, which includes the TNA World Champion Mike Santana, the TNA International Champion Mustafa Ali, our X Division Champion Cedric Alexander, and our Tag Team Champions Brian Myers and Bear Bronson. And Cedric, Bear, and Brian make up the system. So that's on the champion side. And then on the challenger side, you have former X Division champion Leon Slater, number one contender to the TNA World Championship, Eric Young, TNA legend Frankie Kazarian, newly returned from injury, Casey Navarro, and the lone wolf himself, Elijah. So the way that this match works, if you are unfamiliar with the Champions Challenge, is that all the champions on one side will take on a team of challengers or TNA All-Stars on the other side. Now, if the champions win, then I mean it's bragging rights at this point. But the big one and what gives this match a little bit of an edge to those who are on the challenger side is that if the challenger side wins, whoever gets the pinfall or submission for the team will be given a TNA championship match depending on the champion that they pinned. So if Mike Santana gets pinned, then the winner gets a TNA World Championship match and so on. So it does create a little bit of urgency from our challengers in order to try to win it, not only for their team, but be the one to get the pin because this allows them to get a championship match of their choosing. I have to say, this was probably one of my favorite matches of the entire night. This is a little bit of a spoiler. Well, not a spoiler, but we only had 4 matches tonight. And of the 4, I think this one was probably my favorite. There's a lot of energy in this match. Everyone got a chance to tag in and show them what they got. Mike Santana being the only face on the champion side was very interesting to see. And then on the challenger side, you pretty much had a 3-2 split, which was really cool and really fun to see. But again, I really enjoyed this match. This was probably my favorite match of the entire night. Not only did we get to see everyone tag in and do what they do best, but it really got an opportunity to showcase some of the people that don't necessarily get a lot of time. For example, I think Mustafa Ali is very underrated, and it was really fun to watch him. Cedric is great. Bear is great. The champions were all spot on here. But of course, my two standouts for this match, of course, is Leon Slater and Casey Navarro. Leon Slater trying to bounce back from losing the X Division Championship to Cedric Alexander 2 weeks ago, and that 2 out of 3 falls match, which is up there as probably one of my matches of the year, which was fantastic stuff. And Casey Navarro, returning from injury, kind of was finished off his feud with AJ Francis and now finds himself possibly getting into some championship contention. I thought this was really fun. It did tease a lot of some cool matchups I would like to see down the line, depending on where the direction goes. But ultimately, the finish of this match sees Leon Slater being able to set up Mustafa Ali, tags in Casey Navarro. Casey Navarro hits his finisher, Blessing in Disguise, which looks really cool. And Casey Navarro pins the TNA International Champion, Mustafa Ali. So the winners of this match is the challenger side of Leon Slater, Eric Young, Casey Navarro, Elijah, and Frankie Kazarian. But specifically because Casey Navarro got the pin, he gets a championship match for the TNA International Championship at some point. My guess is probably at Slammiversary. Really solid opening for this episode of TNA. And honestly, it was my favorite match, which means that everything else on this card was, let's just say, it ranges from my enjoyment level. We move on from our opening match to our first backstage segment. Gia Miller is here interviewing former TNA Knockouts champion and NXT star Ariana Grace and NXT Stacks of Birthright. Still hate the name. And basically, this is exactly what I thought it'd go. Ariana Grace complains that Santino is the reason that she couldn't get a rematch, and Santino's to blame for losing the championship. Stacks is going to teach Santino a lesson tonight, and he's going to make sure that his daughter is watching and all that good stuff. So, very typical slimy heel tactics, annoying. And here I thought we were done with Ariana Grace, but oh boy. I have made it abundantly clear that I am not the biggest fan of these two being here. I'm also not the biggest fan that now they're feuding with Santino. And when we get to the match, I called it last week, but we are going to get these two versus Indy and Santino next week, which I'll talk about more when we get into the match that was set between Santino and Stacks. But ultimately, is the pre promo as we would see Stacks and Santino link up and lock up later in the show. After this backstage segment, we go into a pre-tape, which was a vignette between the Broken Hardys and the Righteous, basically cutting a back and forth promo, talking about their ideology as a tag team and about each other. And this is to setting up the Wicked Garden match next week on TNA. Don't know what that means. I am intrigued. I'm also a little terrified because the Hardys winning against the Righteous again does not make me really fun. It doesn't make me a happy person because, yes, I'm biased. I love the Righteous. I truly do. But the tag team, the men's tag team division specifically, like we have feuds that are not just or that are not for the title, but the Hardys have always gotten the better of the Righteous, and I feel like the Righteous need to be put over in this match. So hopefully the Hardys will put them over. I doubt it, but we will see next week how this goes. And I'm interested to see what a Wicked Garden match is going to be. Is it live? Is it pre-taped? We shall see how that turns out next week on Thursday. But after this pre-tape, we get into our second match of the evening, which is a knockouts match where we see, the Diamond Standard herself, Tessa Blanchard, taking on not newcomer to TNA, but newer. She's only been here for a couple of months, and Harley Hudson. I thought this match was pretty solid. It was nothing to write home about for sure. I do think that the chemistry was not the best between Tessa and Harley, but I do think that as the match hit its second and third act, I do think that the chemistry did get a little bit better. Harley definitely put in the offense for this one. And this was a lot more back and forth than I thought it was going to be. I honestly thought it was going to be a squash match, but I am glad to see that this was given a little bit of a back and forth. But to nobody's surprise, including me, Tessa Blanchard picks up the victory over Harley Hudson. I really have too much to say about this match, only because I kind of figured that the result was going to be Tessa winning. Um, I don't know what we're doing with these two. Initially, like, I thought we were gonna get more between, Ali and Rosemary and Mara versus the Diamond Collective, and I also thought we were gonna get, because we set up that those 3 are also going after the Elegance brand for the titles. So I don't know what we're doing with the Diamond Collective. I don't know what's going on with Tessa and Mila Moore and Victoria Crawford. Like, I don't know what's happening over there. So we'll see what happens. This was a strange match to be made because this was made from a social media exclusive backstage clip. So very weird that we got this match, but hey, Knockouts division, love them. I want them to get more time, and we need to develop the stories a little bit better. But again, this wasn't that bad. It was serviceable. It was fine. But I do want to see better from everyone and more feuds, because we have some knockouts. We're just not using them a lot right now. So after this match, though, we cut backstage once again. We have the Iceman, George the Iceman, Mr. Concierge of the Elegant brand himself, have a quick conversation with Lang Ying Li and basically tells her to not screw it up for the Elegance brand later tonight for the Knockouts Champions Challenge. Lang Ying Li intimidates and scares him away, and she continues to go back training. So again, just setting up our main event, and we move on with our lives into our next match, which, oh my lord, this was not great. I was not a fan of this match. I don't know why we're doing this feud, but to me, this is the worst match of the night. NXT Stacks versus Santino Marella. Why is the story happening? I couldn't even begin to tell you. Why did we get this match? Because why not? I think the basis of this feud, in my personal opinion, is really stupid. Now, normally I'm here for some dumb stuff in wrestling. I love it. Sometimes it could be a great thing. But I don't care about this story. I truly do not. And I'm trying to figure it out as to why we are doing this. But this match doesn't go as long. Only go about 7 to 8 minutes. Ariana Grace helps Stax pick up the victory over her dad, Santino Marella. Um, yeah, this was not fun. I did not enjoy this match. I don't care about this feud, but we're continuing it anyways. So post match, Stax and Ariana beat up on Santino. Indy Hartwell comes out for the save. Indy gets on the mic. She tells the crowd, "Hey, you know what, Ariana and Stacks, I'm tired of you two always doing your thing. And so how about we have Santino and Indy versus Stacks and Ariana right here tonight, which then prompts Daria Ray to come out. And she, at first, she says, no, we're not going to have that match. But then she thinks about it, and she said that she would love for Stacks to beat up on Santino again. So next week, we are going to get a mixed tag team match. Ariana Grace and Stacks versus Santino Marella and Indy Hartwell. God bless us, because it's gonna be a rough one. We'll see how that goes. I hope Santino and Indy are probably going to win, because they've been on the losing side and of Daria and these and Stacks and Ariana, but we'll see what happens. So that is going to be a match that is set for next Thursday. Let's get on to the next part of our show, which backstage we see AJ Francis and some poor dude, and AJ Francis wants that contract and that paperwork like next week or tomorrow. Otherwise, he's gonna beat this man to a pulp. What is AJ planning? What is in this paperwork? Well, I don't know, but I'm intrigued. I do like AJ as a heel. I think he's very interesting. And I do think that he's probably the best heel that TNA has right now, which is saying a lot. But I'm hoping this paperwork stuff goes somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste. And that is my biggest fear, that we do this and then it turns out to be a wet fart, or it does not end up being the way that it needs to be. But whatever this paperwork is, AJ needs it now. And this poor guy needs to get it to him. Otherwise, he going to die. But we're going to have to follow the story and see what happens with all of that. So very interesting. All righty. After that, we get into our third match of the evening. This is Edward Edwards versus Fabian Eichner. So, congratulations to Fabian Eichner. It was announced earlier today that TNA has decided to sign Fabian Eichner to their roster. So, good on him. I think he's going to be interesting here in TNA. For those of you who are unaware, Fabian Eichner, formerly part of Imperium, and then he was also known as Giovanni Vinci, and then he got released from WWE, and here he is in TNA. So lots of fun here. I was actually really enjoying this match, and then the DQ came out, and I was like, "Well, there it is. I knew it was going to happen." So Fabian Eichner is actually getting the best of Eddie, and then the system come out to cause the DQ to help Eddie. Fabian wins, but not really because it's a DQ. The system beat up on Fabian Eichner with Cedric Alexander, giving him a lumbar check for his troubles as a payback for Fabian Eichner choking him out last week. This feud is not far over. I think Fabian Eichner will get his lick back sometime soon. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of a DQ, but hey, if it's gonna progress the story, then sure, why not? I just hope that TNA follows through with it and follows up on it. Otherwise, it's gonna be a complete waste of time. So Fabian Eichner wins via DQ over Edward Edwards. I will say Fabian does have some very fun and unique offense, and I'm here for it. Alrighty. After this match, though, we get into our preview for next week. I told y'all this episode was really, really short, which was very interesting. It was a good hour and 20 minutes, so this is gonna be fun. Uh yeah. I So here's what we got planned for next week. We have Eddie Edwards taking on BDE. BDE in a digital exclusives is talking about how he was watching and keeping an eye on the Champions Challenge match, and then Alicia Edward comes out telling BDE that he doesn't have what it takes to face Eddie Edwards. So this is why this match is here. We also are getting Santino Marella and Inti Hartwell versus NXT stars Stax and Ariana Grace. So that's the match that's happening. And then last but certainly not least, we have our Wicked Garden match between the Righteous and the Broken Hardys. I don't know what the Wicked Garden match is going to be. I hope it's fun at least. But we shall see. Hopefully TNA doesn't mess it up. But as of right now, these are the three matches that are currently scheduled for next episode as we are continuing our build to TNA Slammiversary on June 28th. Alrighty, kids, this is time for the main event, which was the Knockouts Champions Challenge, which saw our champions, our TNA Knockouts champion, Lei Ying Lee, and the TNA Knockouts Tag Team champs, the Elegance brand of M by Elegance and Heather by Elegance, taking on the challengers of Zaya Brookside, Elena Black, and Mara Sade. Very, of course, a lot smaller than the men's as we only have two champions. But I will say, I think this was a fun event. This was my second favorite match of the night. I wish that they got a little bit more time than 13 minutes, but I will not complain. I do think that the women definitely had a different dynamic than the men's. It's very interesting that most of the competitors in this match are heels, with 4 out of the 6 being heels, which are the Elegance Girls, Elena Black and Zaya Brookside, and Mara and Lei Lee being the faces. So we this match was a lot of fun. Again, I think the Elegance brand girls are very good, and I hope that they continue to develop and love to see them be single stars later down the line here in TNA. But this was a really fun match. Again, second favorite match of the entire night. Not as clean or as high paced as the men's one, but still very fun. Ultimately, Zaya Brookside would get the victory for the challenger side. So Zaya Brookside, Elena Black, and Mara Sade are the winners of the of the Knockouts Champions Challenge. And Zaya Brookside pins Lei Ying Lee. So Zaya Brookside will get a future TNA Knockouts Championship match down the line. And that is how TNA goes off the air this week. Again, this was a very short episode, given the fact that the show itself was not that long, didn't have too much going on, but also because I'm by myself here, I just ran through it pretty quickly. So that was fun. But that is it for the Takedown Troop post show. Before I do the outro and get up on out of here, just a little bit of a heads up as to what you can expect for the upcoming week. So we are officially done this week, but we pick it up once again this Sunday, May 31st at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. I will be here along with Kilt and our good friend over at If We Had the Pencil podcast. Sean from If We Had the Pencil podcast will be here, and we will be doing a live watch along for Clash in Italy for WWE. So that's going to be fun. And then a bit of a change in programming for the next 2 weeks. So on Monday, we will be doing our AEW post show. Yes, you heard that correctly. We usually do it on Tuesdays, but given some changes that are happening in the next 2 weeks with my schedule, we will be doing this upcoming week's AEW post show on Monday. Then on Wednesday, we will only be having the CMLL show on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. On Friday, I'll be back. We will be back once again for TNA. And then on Sunday next week, we will have our AAW post show because of reasons. And then that leads into the following Monday as we will be doing a double dose of post shows with first NJPW's The Best of the Super Juniors 33 finals, and then Eve 150. So Benny and I are going to have a busy 2 days together very soon. So that is always going to be a good time. But that's going to be it from me here this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to this very quick post show on the May 28th edition of TNA. I will see y'all again on Sunday for the WWE Clash in Italy watch along. So, from all of us here at BC WrestlePod to you at home, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more important than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. I'll catch you Sunday with my friendos, and hopefully you can join us for Clash in Italy watch along. But until then, sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.